Hello, everybody. It is Friday, March 24th. I am Justin Hickman with Vertispan. Today, I'm just going to jump right back into what we were working on last week. Just watching the closed captions, and it's talking about a British band today. I don't know what that's all about. I guess it thought Vertispan was British band. So anyways, let me go ahead and start this up. There was some changes to the Vertispan RPC Web Workers stuff. So I am just going to re-implement everything just so that we can be certain that it all works just fine. So the first thing that I want to do is let's open up the parent POM. And inside of here, we need to change the com Google to org WIT project. So let's change that on both of those. Don't think I need anything with that. And let's go ahead and add the dependency for the workers. This is com Vertispan RPC, and I was going with the snapshot, only because the snapshot has the current changes. I will have to talk to Colin about possibly getting an alpha 7. Yeah, it's alpha 6 to the latest right now. I want to get an alpha 7, but there is another issue that we'll have to address before that can work. And another thing that I want to do in the plugin management, let's go ahead and make the Maven, oops, org Apache Maven. What? That's a weird content assist. Maven plugins. There we go. I don't know why it's trying to auto put an artifact in here, but this is for the Maven source plugin, and this is just so that we can attach the sources. Attach sources. Goals. Goal. Jar, no fork. Alright. I think that should be it for the root POM. Alright, and we need a common module because of the fact that we have the main UI code and the web worker, but we need some commonality in between the two. So here I'm going to create a file, pom.xml. Let's just copy this one first and gut it. Worker parent, snapshot, and the artifact ID here is going to be GWT Web Worker. Not sure why it keeps doing that. IntelliJ, you're trying to be a little bit too clever here. This is going to be a jar project. I don't think we have any properties for this. And let's just go ahead and ditch all that. So the dependencies for this, we're going to get the endpoint processor. Endpoint processor. Oh yeah, go ahead and create a variable for this. And this is going to be And this is for the workers. PC workers version. And the other group ID for this is Vertispan RPC. Just as before, scope provided. And this is also going to use GWT. So let's say GWT user. This is going to be org GWT project and workers. All right, so now we need to be able to attach the resources. So anything in the Java directory, let's go ahead and include anything under a client directory and any XML files. We also need the source main resources. Basically everything. And then resource. And this is going to be the target generated sources annotations. And let's just include everything in there. And then for the other plugins, we need Maven source plugin. And that's already configured in the other parent POM, so nothing to do there. All right, so that takes care of that guy. So I should be able to close that out, close that out. Let's just go ahead and run a clean Oh, that's weird. Oh, wait. Did I not change that in here? I need to change here. Yeah, here we go. Org GWT project. And this is for the other worker, so I also need to update the other client, or the other main. Mental's fine. And this is going to have some extra dependencies in it, such as the workers from GWT RPC, or Vertispan RPC. GWT Web Worker Common. And that's going to be basically project group ID. Because this is the common project. Here we go. And we also need the other sources for that. So that takes care of that POM. And then the other workers, let's take a look at this again. This one's going to basically have similar. We're going to need this stuff. We already updated the com.google to org.gwt project, so that should take care of that. That should be it. So let's go ahead and do a clean install. Let's make sure that this actually compiles. I don't know why that's doing that. So in the common project, let's go ahead and create a main directory. Let's re-import the other project so that can turn blue. Oh wait, I need this to be Java. And let's grab a package. This is going to be com.vertispan.gwt web worker common client data. Let's create a person class because we want to be able to send a person object back and forth between the main thread and the other worker thread. So let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, I probably don't need final on it. And all of the bean goodness in there. There we go. So that takes care of the other person object. I don't think there's anything special to do with that. I mean, it doesn't look like it. And we need a common gwt.xml. So I am going to throw that in the resources. Source main resources. Vertispan web worker common. Paste all of that. And inside of here, I'm going to use core. And then we need to inherit RPC to workers. There we go. And let's take a look at the main with XML. This one, you need to inherit from common. So that's the other web worker common that we just did. And we also need from the Vertispan RPC the gwt user fallback. Well, that's basically it on that one. And then the other worker, similar deal. We need to inherit common, and legacy RPC classes. All right, so now let's create a couple of message boards. So let's take a look at the worker sample that we have out here. I'm not going to worry about the shared chat. Where was I? Sorry, got sidetracked with Slack chat. And Impl worker. Oh wait, this is the workers. I'm looking at the wrong code. So common. All right, so now we have two interfaces, and these are going to be the endpoints. And this is how it's going to be able to communicate back and forth. So let's create a simple ping and pong type interface. So this I'm going to put under now it's not going to be here. I'm going to move it here in a second to client service. That's weird. That's very bizarre. Let me just try this. Where to span with web worker common client service. Yeah, that's weird. I wasn't able to just move it like that. Okay. Oh wait, I got the wrong one. Let's move that back. All right, so then my worker interface, I'm just going to have a single method in here called ping. So then whenever I receive a message, I'll be able to react on it. And this also needs to have an endpoint annotation with a RPC API endpoint. And that needs to extend message port endpoint. And I have to tell it what the opposing endpoint is going to be. So let's go ahead and create a new one called my main. Similar deal here. This is an endpoint, and it's going to extend message port endpoint, and this is going to name the opposing side. So this is going to be the other worker side, and this one is going to be the main. And in here, let's just have a on. So the idea is that I would, from the main thread, the main part of the application, call ping. It hits the web worker thread. It receives that ping, and then it will respond with a call to pong. Pretty simple. This is basically like a hello world of web worker communication. All right, just taking a look here. Doesn't look like there's much else. All right, so let's go ahead and close those out. So if we take a look at this stuff, right now there's nothing in here. So let's go ahead and in the not the client, but the common. Let's go ahead and clean and compile this. And let's take a look at what's in the target folder. So in the target directory, we have generated sources, and this is because we used the processor. So just by adding the dependency to the endpoint processor, because it uses annotation processor, it was able to find all of the subclasses of the worker endpoint interface, and then it creates an implementation for that. So that's why whenever we're looking at, for example, the client side here, it has the myhost_impl. That's not actually implemented as source code here. It's generated from the annotation processor, and in my particular case, it's going to be my main impl. So let's put this to use. Let's go to the main entry point. So we have the worker entry point and the main entry point. So I'm going to put the main stuff on the left and the worker stuff on the right, just so that we can see both sides of this. All right. So for the main entry point, rather than just pulling in the worker like this, let's go ahead and let's just go ahead and destroy all that. Instead, what I want to do is I don't want to, because I've been having some issues with the worker loading automatically, I want to actually add a button. And this is just going to be a new button just to start the worker, and that way it's not immediate upon loading the app that it's loading the worker. I want to be able to wait and then put some debug points, some breakpoints in the developer tools, so that I would be able to test it a little bit easier. So in this particular case, all this is doing is adding a button to the main page. It's printing to the console to let you know that it hit the main thread and the entry point actually executed. And then whenever you click on the button, it's going to execute this little bit of code. So this is where we're going to get the worker factory. And then this one is going to be the worker side. There's two points, two endpoints that you have to specify: the remote and the local. So the remote one is the my worker, and the local is going to be my main. And this is where the my worker impl comes into play. So we just instantiate that, and it creates a new factory from this implementation. All right. So now we have the worker, and we want to create a dedicated worker. And this is where we're going to specify the endpoint URL. This is going to be worker no cache JS. And we also need to provide it a implementation of the local main method. And I think there's an abstract class for this, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if that's it or not. Actually, let me come up here. message port endpoint. So there's an abstract worker endpoint impl. Is that what I want? Abstract worker endpoint impl. Maybe not. I mean, it's not very helpful. I didn't write it. I'll have to ask Colin about it because there's no. I mean, I guess I could. I don't know what I would put for like writer factory or anything like that. So in this particular case, I'm just going to implement it as is. I could probably create an abstract because, I mean, I'm not doing anything with this stuff. So if I were to private my worker remote remote equals remote turn remote, and whatever I want to do with the error, quit, uncut, exception handler. Let's just do that for now. Let's just throw it to the uncut exception handler. Probably need to implement one. So in this particular case, I don't need to do this in line. I would just create a new my worker or my main nibble. That's it. So for the time being, let's just go ahead and log this out. Just so that we know that we received the other message from the other worker. So then it's just a matter of calling ping on the other worker thread, and it should return Pong. But let's go ahead and implement that side. That is going to be over here on the right-hand side. Try not to cover up the source. Actually, if I make this a little bit taller, it'll be the same height as my webcam. All right. So let me take a look at my notes over here. Make sure I got everything the way I want it. All right, so then this side, this is the worker entry point. So let's do the exact same thing with this. And you have to remember that there's no DOM manipulation from the other worker side, so we can't add buttons or anything like that. But we do need a dedicated worker global scope. And unfortunately, because of how this works, I'm going to have to create some Disney, unfortunately. Not a fan of doing that, but it is what it is. I could probably just do self. I think I have that. I'll have to double check my script. Worker linker template. Yeah, $self. Okay. I do have a $self. Cool. So once we have self, we need to do the exact same thing on this side. We have a worker factory of, and this is going to be the main side. On this side, we created the worker factory, and on the worker side, we need to create the main side. If that makes sense, because we're going to be communicating back to the main thread. And here we can wrap the remote message port. This one is a message port, and I think this is where some of the confusion is, because whenever the Vertispan GWT stuff was written, a lot of the Elemental 2 interfaces for this stuff didn't exist. But if I take a look at message port, so this one is the one that comes with Vertispan GWT, but we can also see that it exists in Elemental. So it would probably be good if we converted the use of the message port to Elemental. So unfortunately, I have to do a very similar thing, message port, as I did with the self. So here, private native message port. This has to be the RPC version of it. And this is basically the exact same thing, self. And here, this is going to be the local implementation of the worker. So here I can probably just create a private static final class, my worker impl implements my worker. And the exact same thing, I need to bind this to a, do that from here? No. This.remote equals remote. Create that. And down here, remote. I probably do need to create a superclass for this. Yeah, I don't know. We'll just have to remember what that message means, because it's not being called on the worker side. It's being called and it's executing on the other worker side. So then my worker impl, and this isn't the my worker underscore impl. This is a my worker impl. I think that's about it. Is that right? All right, so let's go ahead and, for the entire thing, let's go ahead and clean install this. Just make sure that it all compiles, at least here. While that's doing that, I'm going to update my notes, make sure I got everything. Oh, I'm going to have an issue with console. Or maybe not. I think whenever we updated the Elemental on the RPC side, I didn't have to do anything special on the console because they fixed that. There will be an issue with the message port, because whenever you're wrapping here, if I take a look at, it's weird. There we go. If we take a look, it's actually calling start. So we'll actually get an error thrown on the other worker and the main side, because it's going to be like, I don't know what this this start method is. It's because the message port doesn't actually have that. So I do have to do something special to handle that. That's basically it. So let's go ahead and start up Tomcat. And we'll start up the two servers, one for the client side, one for the web worker side. Eventually. Almost there. Switch my side. There we go. That's ready. Let's go ahead and start the main code server. What's that thing again IntelliJ likes to do? It always works on the second run. I don't know what's going on with that. And as soon as this one finishes, I guess I can start the other one too. So let's go ahead and start the other worker up as well. Man, I finished anyways. So let's go over here. Let's just double check. So if I go to this one, this is the client, and this is the worker side. If I refresh this, it'll compile both sides because of all of the work that we did on the worker stuff. And let's go ahead and open up the console. So we did reach the main thread. So let's refresh that. Did hit the main thread, start the worker, and here we go. Just as I mentioned before, worker start is not a function. So in that particular case, I think what I need to do is in my worker linker template, just for the time being. I do have a ticket open for this, I believe. Yeah. Web worker bug with the start function. Worker doesn't implement start method. So I just pasted the thing in there. I mean, this will be assigned at some point. But for the time being, right here, let's just create a dummy function because we don't really need anything special. There we go. So if self doesn't have a start function, let's go ahead and just create a dummy function. And let's go ahead and restart the other worker. And get past that IntelliJ, or I don't know if it's IntelliJ or not. I think there's something weird with the code server, and it doesn't release the port. Oh my god! Come on. It'll release the port, or the... There we go. Eventually. And let's go back over here, refresh. May have to empty cache and reload. That's weird. Let's take a look at the network for this. Yeah, if not self-start, self.start function. Worker. Let me go into that. All right. let's do some live debugging. All right, so worker. Oh, this is on the main side. Oh, okay. Main entry point. Yeah, this is on the main side. So what is this instance? So this is on the worker instance. Okay, that's going to be a problem. I think that's where I ended up with this. Worker doesn't implement. Yeah. So if we look at Indian worker, let's take a look at the worker interface. I mean, it has a close, if I remember right. Here we go. Here's the interface. It has error message, message error, unhandled rejection, terminate, post message. I swear it had a close. Doesn't look like it. But it doesn't have a start. So in that particular case, let's see if there's something that we can hack with this. So this is before it even gets to the worker side. So if I take a look at this, it's basically right here. So whenever I'm doing an of, oh, it's actually here. So from the factory, it's in the of, it's returning abstract worker factory in bool, passing it that. That's the message port. And where's it getting the message port? Is it? Message port endpoint. That's not what I was looking for. All right, so here's the worker. Is this a local? Oh, so yeah, even this isn't Elemental 2. This is its own worker stuff. Oh boy. What's it called? Create. Oh, it's calling it there. All right, so I'm just trying to see if there's a place to hack it, and it doesn't look like there is. Unless we were to... how can we do that? So we kind of need to like inject ourselves before this is called, because the create method, which is this one right here, that's getting called right after it instantiates the worker. I mean, this is like 4 or 5 year old code, so it's understandable that it probably worked at one time but doesn't work anymore. I mean, that's returning new abstract. I mean, I guess I could do the same sort of thing. This is just really ugly. Alright, so here it's returning factory. So let's create our own factory. Let's just paste all that code in here. Abstract worker factory impl of the remote side is going to be my worker, my main. And this isn't terrible. It's not ideal. So here, I don't have access to that. Oh. Here we go. Let's get rid of that. And the remote is my worker. Constructor. Just bind that. Refilled. There we go. Alright, so that takes care of that. Nope. Nope. Have to use... No. Not sure which ones this is using. Let's... grab all of these imports. See if that fixed it. Pretty close. Pretty close. Those. So how does that work? Probably has like a super source for that. The ring helper. It might have super source for that. Might. I mean, I'm assuming that's the only way that could work. So let's try compiling that. Oops. Get rid of that. Well, that didn't seem to have a problem. Alright, so still having that issue. Let's go ahead and do this again. Are we still on the client side? Main side, yeah. Oh wait, haha. Created that class and never actually called it. So instead of this, we need to do a, oops. So instead of this worker factory, we need a new my worker factory, passing it in this constructor. And let's see if that works. Alright, so now I failed to execute post message on worker. Right? Alright, we're still on the main side. That's weird. Not be cloned. What's my payload? Payload is an array buffer. So it looks like there's probably going to be a little bit more involved on the other Vertispan WIT RPC side for web workers. Not be cloned. Probably is mainly to do with all of the internal implementations that could probably be JSN are out now. All right. Pasting that in Slack. Not execute post message on worker. So worker post message is a function. This is creating 2 JS arrays. Isn't it just a single object? There's the other post message. Alright, so there's a message. And then transfer an optional array of transferable objects to transfer ownership of. If the ownership of the object is transferred, it becomes unusable in the context it was sent from and becomes available only to the worker it has been sent to. Does that sound about right? Yeah, that's probably fine, because I'm looking at the other payload, and it's basically just an array buffer. So we have a JS array containing the array buffer and a string table, which is basically how GWT RPC works anyways. And then it's like giving it an array of the payload to say these are transferable objects, and you can own them on the other side. But it looks like there's something RCB. What is my let me look at my configurations real quick for the main side. Probably want this to be, oh, hey, what's up? I'm not sure. Correct, and I just did look at the payload. The payload is an array buffer. A string table is not a real array. What is string table? Doesn't look like it's a real array. It probably needs to be a JS array instead of a Java array. Okay, so I copied that code, so I should be able to so it isn't a transferable that is wrong. Well, because of the ticket. Oh, I have a window open. Because of that ticket that I have open for the start function, I ended up having to create my own worker factory on the main thread side, which basically just copied this part and ignored the other worker.start. We can find out if there's a delay in chat. Say something in chat, and I will immediately read it. Okay, I'm back. Hopefully that's close enough. Got it. Okay. Yeah, that took a while. Might be like several seconds behind. So in here, this one right, this string table, should probably create a JS array of it, right? Instead of a an actual string array. Cast string table to JS array and call slice on it. Like that. I'll probably have to do the same down here. I'm not completely familiar with what's going on in here yet. No. Cast it. Oh. How do you cast it? Can you just cast a string array? Like that? Let's see. Let's see if it'll work. Class cast exception. But I don't know which side. This looks like it might be on the other worker side. Yeah, because it's already gone out here, so I don't think that's the problem. I think this is the other worker side. I have no idea. It's all of the obfuscated stuff. So I mean, we are receiving the event. So this is like on message on the other side. Right. But I'm not casting anything. Well, okay, so I'm... So self, that one is probably correct. I'm not even using self. Why do I even have this self? Let's just ignore that for now. So I'm assuming it's this message port. So what is the message port? Is that going to be self on the other worker side? Look at your create calls message handler. Oh, this guy down here? I haven't even called back to that side yet. So maybe I need to understand what that's doing. So then data, it's going to be a, yeah, that's fine. But then this one's going to be a JS array of string. Can I just do this? Wait. Yeah. Does that work? Still a class cast exception. I don't think that changed anything. Java caster no good here. Right, that's why I did uncheck cast. Let's see, Oh, well, I didn't write that. Let's remember that it's all from this code. The only things that I originally was planning on changing was just dropping this little bit, but it looks like there's other things to be updated. So yeah, I changed that. Oop, wrong place. To an unchecked cast. Go. Yeah, let's see what that does. Yeah, you think? Oh. Does this look any different to you? Let me just clear cache and recompiling it again. Could always put a debugger in here. Yeah, I'll have to do that. Are we getting to this point? That doesn't make any sense. Oh, this is inside main message handler on the worker. Okay, that does make sense. But we shouldn't even be calling this yet. Because, yeah, this shouldn't even be called. So you're saying that over here, instead of this worker factor, I'm going to have to create basically the same crap on that side. All right. So this one is going to be my opposite side. My main factory. And this is going to be my main. Yeah, I probably should have shared this code. All right, my main factory. Wondered why that wasn't actually didn't look like it was doing anything, because I was looking at the compiled source and it looked the same. There we go. Inside of worker thread, so it actually hit the so that's why it was coming in as obfuscated code without the source maps, is because this was on the worker side and it hadn't got to the point of being able to do the source maps yet. I thought it was on the worker side because of the async behavior on that, but it does make sense that I had to modify the thing on the back. So inside main message handler. Okay, so I did get this message. So in here, get rid of that. Not entirely sure how to do this, to be honest. I mean, I can make it where it's not static, and then I can do my main is equal to that, and then, so did I receive the ping? I did not receive the ping. That data doesn't work somehow. Ow. I saw that. So yeah, this isn't my code. I hate looking at obfuscated code. We were so close. Yeah. Stop. Let's do that. That's what I was planning on doing earlier, but I got sidetracked. I don't think it's getting to the point of doing the source maps. I already stopped that server though. Maybe no, I haven't. We hit continue. And then on this side, I should be able to do worker. Guess we don't have it yet. It's probably because there's an exception being thrown so early? I don't know. That seems kind of weird. Would that be the case? Because I had source maps earlier. Alright, let me restart my worker. Oh, come on. Sure, say like a forced termination or something. We'll get it one of these times. There we go. Hopefully we don't have to restart too often. And we're still not getting to the point. So this is something to do with the byte buffer serialization stream reader, and this is probably some of the other super source. My dog's snoring. I think it's this. And this is inside of constructor, I guess. So is there something in the strings? I don't know if this is the right class. Byte buffer serialization stream reader. Oh, I'm in the wrong place. Byte buffer serialization stream reader. There we go. Here's the assert. What's that sound? Still snoring. Okay. Yeah. So it looks like there's something with this RPC serialization byte reader. So it's probably with the string tables or something. No, it's no problem. So I was just looking at bb.getInt. What is remaining at bb remaining? I don't even see it. Oh, it's a function. G remaining 1012. Yeah, it seems kind of big. Let's check out the main entry point. Let's throw in a breakpoint here. Let's get rid of those breakpoints. Or no, yeah, that's probably start worker. All right, so let's take a look at what we got here. We have a payload, which is an array buffer containing 1024. Oh, have you? Okay. And once we get through some of these issues, this will be really cool. Dip into that. It's a cast. Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Getting so much closer. But I'm not familiar enough with the RPC code to do much with this anyways. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Okay. No problem. I'm going to, while we're doing that, to misspelled it. Thought I did. I'm just going to implement this in a single place. If you go back to the browser, check what position function returns on beep. Sure. Let me fix this stuff up real quick. Oh, just negative methods. All right. So I'm gonna hit play. Then it gets into this. All right, so then check, see what the position of BB is. Position is 12. I can check the function. It's not a function. Oh, position. Okay, that one is a function. 12. Yeah, it's just returning 12. Remaining was 4, position was 12. So can you see there's a non-zero value in the byte array after position 16. They're all zeros. Yeah, it's not a non-zero. It is a 0. Okay. Could you modify a main entry point to log the size of the array buffer it is sending? Yeah, we can do that. The payload? Buffer. Is it the byte length? I think we already established that as 1024. I can't. That's in code that I don't have access to. Because that's in the byte buffer. I mean, I could create my own. But that's going to be annoying. I guess are you sure? Oh, yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense. It just comes up in there reader. Byte buffer serialization stream writer. So it's allocating 1024. I'm not sure. The size appropriate to fit. After it turns out there's no extra data, which would be an extra copy, right? So it's basically just this. Oh, all right. Just give me a couple of seconds. Just comment that out. I was creating my own message port factory. Endpoint impl constructor of remote. Okay. And in here, oh, let's ignore the console for now. That way, any changes that I make here will impact both sides. So let's get rid of this. And then up here, This is going to be my new message port factory. Okay. And in my main entry point, I'll do the same. I'm just going to trash this. Then message port factory. Let's just make sure that this still is the same amount of broken and not new broken. Okay, same amount of broken. Good. All right, so now let's create byte buffer serialization stream writer? No, reader. And you just wanted to drop the assert. And inside of the factory here, instead of that reader, I just use the package level. All right, get payload bytes, it's slicing its own data, which should shorten the buffer, make a new byte buffer. Let's try that. I don't know. I'm not deep enough into this to know what the hell you're talking about. Hey, look at that! Without the assert, it worked. Alright, so ping called on the worker side. So then in here, I should be able to, my main, pong. Let's start that worker. There we go. We have communication. Alright, I will provide this stuff, but it does look like there's going to be a lot more rewrite necessary to use JS interrupt types instead of all of the other JS types that are in there. Yeah, so, but this is just void method, and I'm not actually, yeah, I'm on a different profile. Oh, wait, there we go. I was still laughing. Different Stream Deck profile because I'm not using a green screen. But yeah, there's a lot of JS type classes in the WinRPC code, mainly because it didn't have any of that stuff yet in Elemental. So let me drop majority of this stuff because I don't need that anymore. I am going to first, I'm going to commit version. No. Commit. Changes from, today is the 24th stream. Worker communication. Communication through WebRPC. Initial, because I would like to get the person in here too, because this is just a single ping method that's a void. So I would like to modify. So on the common client, we have the service. So when we call the worker, I want to say, I'm assuming that all of these methods have to be void, because I don't think they could respond because they're all asynchronous. So yeah, they would all have to be void. Update person. person. Okay. To create a base endpoint. Don't know what to do with that, but let's go ahead and private e remote this.remote equals remote and remote. So then if I extend, I do need that implements in there, but if I extend my base endpoint of my worker, is that right? There's it, my main. Wow. Hadn't actually implemented the method yet. So let's get rid of this stuff, which is no longer needed. All right, so now we have the person on that side. And on the main entry point, I want to do the same thing here. I need to extend base endpoint. Worker is the remote. So let's get rid of that. Ooh, too much. There we go. Right now, I'm just going to do one direction. Seems kind of pointless to call it back. All right, so I'm assuming that this is, yeah. So here I should be able to, in my common, compile, and this will regenerate. Has no instantiable subtypes. What? Do I need implements serializable? Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so that should get rid of that error. I don't think I need to restart this. Oh wait, haha! I didn't actually send the person. Update person, new person. Justin Hickman, age 20. Close enough. Look at that! Looky. That actually received the person in the other worker. Obviously, because of, oh boy, because it's doing this RPC, it's kind of weird because unlike the RPC that you would have to the server where it's actually pushing it into the real class, um, because it's in the JVM, it's actually just getting deserialized into its own version of person. So the obfuscation that you would have on the worker side will most likely differ than it is on the main side, but because we're doing this serialization over the wire, um, it's going to work just fine. So then it'll know this person, even though they're disconnected types. But you kind of have to think of them as two separate JVM implementations, and the bytecode might be a little different. So yeah, we were able to receive that person on the other side. Changing object on the sending and receiving side won't affect the other side. Correct, because it is serializing. So if I were to, on the other worker side, person.set age to 40, and then, I mean, this is asynchronous anyway, so even if I had a console here, person on client side, person, oh wait, I need to struct that out. It's not going to modify it, so even if I were to change this so it's not that, what if I were to wait on the ping until later, and then instead of this I did this.person, and then whenever I get the pong back I console log person after ping person. That way I can actually see it, because because they're asynchronous, even technically, it's very possible that it's executing this and executing this before they even receive on the other side. I would have to add like another button or something here just to be certain, but this isn't going to change the sender side. So yeah, so on the worker side we have 40 because I modified, but then on the client side, even after the ping, and it's modified, updated on the quote-unquote server on the worker thread, the local object has not been updated. So any kind of, if you were to use a worker thread for like a database sort of thing, you would have to make sure that you have all of the necessary mechanisms in place to update existing instances whenever you're fetching new data from the worker thread, the database side. So yeah, this works. I am going to probably call that one done. We will need to get some changes in the backing library, but it doesn't look that difficult, and we should be able to get it fairly quickly. Well, I'm speaking for somebody else. And it's at least doable now. So let's go ahead and just amend it. There we go. There we go. So that is worker threads in a nutshell. So the takeaways. The hard part is the GWT SDM right now. I'm having to play class loader tricks. So in the worker side, in my resources, I have to basically replace this stub nocache.js. I would like to figure out if there's a way to inject my own instead of having to do this class loader trick. I can't really package this JavaScript up into a library because what if my jar fall after the I don't remember how that works. I think it's the last one wins. I can't remember the class loader rules, but if it loads the classes in the wrong order in the jars, the only reason it's working here is because this is part of the source of what I'm actually executing, but it's not going to be consistent. Don't like class loader tricks. So I would like to figure out how to get this to work. Kind of have to look at the backing code. See, and this is actually a combination of 3 different scripts. Or 4, because it has the stub, but it also has the recompile main lib and template that it basically injects inside of here. Because I didn't need any of that, I just inlined it all. Otherwise, we would have to replace class loader tricks on the other JavaScript as well. But it might be beneficial to take a look at this and see, like, how is this even loaded? I think I did like a couple of weeks ago, but I forgot. It would be nice if I think it's in web server actually. Might be able to find this right now. Handle request. Handled rusty get. Yeah, so here it's doing the recompile stuff, and it's having to actually do all that. So this is basically just a front controller for all of the other web server stuff, since it's running Jetty. So here's the server start, and it just configured all of the other servlets programmatically in here. So if it doesn't end with cache.js, it does all that stuff. So there's the stub. The box contains stub compile. I don't know. Something that might be worth investigating. Maybe there's something that we can do with maybe an agent. I mean, even agents, you would still have to do the JVM args and pointing directly to the jar on the class. Well, it's not even the class path. It's just a location. So I am probably going to call that good for today on the web worker stuff. I'm gonna take a, I don't know, 5 or 10 minute break. Grab some water, grab a snack, and whenever I come back, I want to start looking at in-browser database stuff. I'll be right back. Thanks. Alright, I'm back. I'm actually creating a ticket real quick. I just want to make sure that there's a record of this. So it actually creates a subclass of abstract worker factory. All. So that started. Certain anything is remaining. There we go. That way it's at least documented. I mean, part of doing open source development is identifying bugs and other projects and making sure that we contribute at least with the other bug reports in that stuff. But that should work and should be done with this little project. At least for now. We will play around with it at a later date. Alright. Their window. Oh, here it is. So the thing that I want to change to, and I just realized that my volume is still pretty loud on my music. Sorry about that. I have been looking at this thing called PouchDB. And it's basically an in-browser database. I mean, it does basically similar stuff as CouchDB for like NoSQL stuff. But I would be interested to see what we can do, just ignoring the replication and stuff like that for now. Because of the fact that we're not actually using JSON objects in the GWT side, I would be interested to see what we can do with this in terms of creating like some sort of database that's indexed, easy to search for data, retrieve data, update data, things like that. So just taking a quick look at all of this stuff. We have the ability to put data. Everything uses promises, which is pretty nice. So then you have the catch and the then, so that you can actually see that data was actually pushed there. It might be very interesting because I'm thinking in terms of like in a domino UI sort of thing where you have the data table, but then you have like crazy large data sets. I mean, yeah, you probably are developing your application wrong if you have large data sets on the client side. But if we think about in terms of being able to do everything in promises, and I think that's one of the biggest things on here. Um, so if you're fetching something, you actually get everything back with promises, which is very nice because then with that asynchronous behavior, what is going to stop you from having all of your data, excuse me, all of your data on a server somewhere and being able to actually do the other queries and stuff that way? So it might be interesting just to see, just play around with, see how that works. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start this in a JS fiddle. I'm going to play around with, I don't know, should I do a fiddle? I'm actually wondering if I should do a local file and just executing that. Let me throw that window over there. Probably because if I take a look at the oh Siri, if I take a look at the console, it's going to be clouded with all of the crap from a JS fiddle. Probably makes more sense to create something raw. So let's just for the lack of a place to put this, I'm just going to put it in here. I'll between this stream and the next, I'll probably create a brand new project structure for all of this. HTML. Probably need to create a branch for all of this. GWT. GWT sounds like a good name for it. And we're not going to copy this verbatim, because, I mean, obviously it's meant to be run in Node or it's JavaScript in general, but it's more of an experimentation to see if something like this would be worthwhile in the Java side with Gwt or with Jackal. Yeah, that looks right. It's been a while since I've implemented an HTML page. Alright, so let's just start a server. This is a client main. Source main resources web app. Or not. Resources. Source main web app. Start HTTP server. And this is just using the Python one. What happened to Python? I'm not sure what happened to Python. Weird. So on a screen off to the side, I'm going to install Python. I'm having to authenticate admin. It's been a while since I've updated brew, so take a little bit. Well, while we're waiting on that, should can I do this from local? Um, I don't know if I need a server or not. Might be yes. Okay, looks like that works. So I might be able just to use a file URL. If anything ever needs something more, I can do that. Okay, so let's play around with this. Let's take a look at this getting started guide. So then it's just a matter of creating a database. I am going to create a new file, main, script source equals main. Nothing too fancy here. And if we look at the console, we can see that it says hi. All right, so now editing starts here. Ow. Probably because this is pulling down a to-do example. Now let's take a look at that. I guess I can download that. I hope this doesn't mess up any of my existing brews, like Maven or something. It tries to update a bunch of stuff. Oops, I did not do that. What was the name of that file? Ouch. Alright. Let's go ahead and grab that. I'm just going to push this off to this. Yeah, I could probably just implement it. Let's just see where it has all of its stuff right now. It doesn't look like it's got any of the stuff in here, so that's good. So I'm actually going to wait for this homebrew to finish real quick. Well, that's still going. Not sure why it's taken so long for Python to go, but I'm going to basically just do this example as is. So let's take a look at the next step. That was basically just to do this, adding this into. I think it wanted to add this at the very bottom. At least that's what I saw in the other video. So, oh, looks like it's already got. I guess I can get rid of that. Does it actually have the patch nightly? Patch DB nightly? I don't know what that one is, so I'm going to remove that. All right. So let's take a look at the app and the base. Probably don't need the base, just the app. There we go. Editing starts here. You don't need to edit anything about this line. That's fine. I think this is probably old. Yeah, because I changed it to PouchDB, not just Pouch. So I think the example here is old. It doesn't match up with the. It doesn't match up with the. I don't need that either. I don't know. It's all this. Don't need that. I think a lot of this is way too old. Navigator. I don't know what ID is. Oh, I wonder if this is because of that thing that I just deleted. Persona.org. I don't know what that is. What's it trying to do? I don't need any kind of login, logout stuff. Let's just comment this stuff out. All right. HDB to-dos. All right, so if we refresh this, and if I remember right, if we go to storage, we should be able to see an index DB to-dos. So this is the database. It actually stores it in IndexedDB. And these are all the tables or whatever. I don't know how that works. Something that I need to figure out. Okay, well, that's kind of cool. Does it have anything session or local? Nope. Just looks like it only has the index DB. And this should retain in between loads because of the fact that it's using a local storage for this. I mean, not local storage, but it is using index DB, which is local. So that's kind of cute. All right, so let's take a look at this. And remote couch equals false. So that basically says that we're not trying to synchronize it with any remote couch DB. First thing that we need to do is write items to the database. Main input will call add to do. All right, so do we have an add to do? Do. So I'm just comparing. So this creates with an ID, and it's just using an ISO string for the other date. What does that look like? Okay, it's using that. The rest of it looks the same. I think the big difference is you can do this with then. Okay. So it uses promises. I think. Can't remember. I think there was something in regards to put and post. See, this one's using put. The source here had post. So let's just do put. What am I doing wrong here? Oh. Had extra code down there. It's like, what's going on? Successfully posted a to-do. So that actually did work. If we were to look at see if we can actually find anything in here. No, it doesn't look like it. I'm not sure if it actually did that or not. Well, let's just keep going on. Unique ID. Yeah, we don't care about any of that stuff right now. We're just wanting to try it out. So in the show to-dos, I'm just going to copy that. So show to-dos. Yeah, so this changed a little bit. This actually put descending true. Did that change anything? Oh, there we go. So there is the to-do, because even though I refreshed, because it's actually in the database, looks like there's 7 objects stored. If I delete that, and then I refresh, it has to recreate it, so foo. But notice that it didn't do anything whenever I did that. It's not going to render it until I refresh, which is fine. So updating the UI, we don't want to refresh the page to see the new items. So here we can just do when the DB sees changes. And actually put it down here. So whenever the database, so it listens to change events on the other database, and whenever it sees changes, it will call show to-dos, and that's the one that we just re-implemented. So here, if we refresh and we type in test, because we modified the data, it automatically calls the show to-dos. Man, kind of cute. It's kind of cool. All right, so thinking about this, is this all? Man, so this does not use a worker thread. It looks like it's all done in the same thread. I mean, nothing's really preventing you. I think that what would prevent you from being able to push this into a worker thread is with like the indexes and stuff, because you're basically having to give it code to execute, or even like semaphores for filters. You would need to be able to do that. You can't do that with a worker thread, unless the worker thread would constantly call back to the main browser thread to basically execute that little bit of code for every record, and that's not very performant. To-dos in the database, create a database, show the items, update the UI, edit a to-do. Alright, so let's that's just to say it's done. Alright, so it looks like double click changes it, but if I, oh, that actually did. Oh, but it's not marking it as completed, so whenever I, nope, that's there too. Okay. Looks like this this example had most of it already done. Yeah. So taking a look at this, whenever there's a checkbox changed event, it gives it the to-do instance, and then the event, which will give you the target. And since this is a checkbox, oh, sorry about that. I just noticed that you were for CQ engine. I'm not completely familiar with that. Make the query types serializable so that you can compose them, give them values, column names to look at. You can also send the other query, not just as a lambda. Right. Right. Assuming it's a query that the server can understand, of course. Sort of like nothing's preventing a client from sending an SQL statement to the server, and it just executes that statement. It's not actually executing any code on the way back. So yeah. Execute engine is what I ran a web worker to do. Yeah, okay. I might want to take a look at that at some point, but from what I can tell, there's only the top thread here. There's no worker thread. So this all looks like it's client side. Um, I mean, the main event loop, main thread. So pros and cons. I guess it could be a worker thread, at least for maybe data synchronization. If you were to synchronize a CouchDB or something like that from a server to local, you should be able to do that in a worker thread. I don't know. So then it just calls db put on that to do, so it saves that db. And because we're doing a put, it's making a change, thus re-showing the to-dos. Redraw the UI, and it's recreating the child. So here, if we console log redraw. So this is actually, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, it's clearing out the HTML in here and just redrawing it all. Pros and cons. I mean, for this small thing, you don't even notice it. But it is, as we can see here, every time you click on a button, it's setting the inner HTML to empty string and re-rendering it completely. So that means that anytime that you're posting, notice it's creating a to-do list item with this to-do, and it's just grabbing all of the data from that, so that whenever you're clicking the checkbox, it actually has the to-do object. So yeah, you're able to do the bind here. Yes, IndexedDB is all async, correct. Yeah, I'm not sure. That might be something worth looking into, but at least the JavaScript side of things, it's all in. And I know that with CouchDB, there are different adapters. You can use IndexedDB, WebSQL, HTTP, so it can go to like a Couch database, Cloudant, CouchDB server, Couchbase, SG. And then there's a LevelDB. I'm not sure any of these things. This looks like in-memory database, like a local storage, maybe. I'm not sure. Yeah, it looks like it's extremely experimental. I'm not sure what level down is. So by default, PouchDB ships with the IndexedDB. It does look like, oops, sorry about that. It does look like you would be able to implement your own adapter for data storage, however you want to do that. There's some just right out of the box. PouchDB over HTTP. So here, instead of creating a new PouchDB with just a name of a database, you give it a URL, and it's able to use the HTTP. And I guess that's what the post and the put and the get methods. Those are basically just the RESTful HTTP methods. So the rest of this seems to be pretty straightforward. Is there any kind of indexing in here? Yeah, doesn't look like there's any indexing. All right, where was I in the tutorial? I did watch this video tutorial and I followed it, and it makes a lot of sense. Most of it seems to be implemented already in the zip file. Um, so that's basically it. Deleting an object. Here it's delete object press db.remove. Yeah, so that's already implemented. And that just deletes the object from your data store. To do blurred. So the input box when editing a to-do has blurred. We should save the new title or delete the to-do if the title is empty. Oh. So in that particular case, if I were to come in here, double click on this guy, edit it, tab off of it, it deletes it. That's kind of cool. Tab off, automatically saves. Yeah, that's kind of cool. So taking a look at that, grabs the value of the input box, it trims it. If it's empty, it just removes it. Otherwise, it just sets the title to that trim text and then puts it in the other database. And because it uses an ID, the only time that we ever do anything with an ID is right here. Whenever we're adding a to-do, we're just adding an ISO string. And I guess this is so that it's sortable in the other database, but I don't think has that precision that it would need. Well, it does get down to microseconds or milliseconds. Might have a, I mean, there might be other things that you can do. It probably makes sense to use a timestamp like this as your database. From what I remember from watching the this video at the top, instead of having UUIDs, I think the original tutorial had it generating UUIDs, and that wasn't very helpful for debugging data stuff. So might as well just use a timestamp, right? That way you know basically when it was created, and it's should be sortable using an ISO format. I'm not going to really care much for looking at synchronizing with a remote server. So yeah, this might be kind of interesting to pull into the GWT world. What plugins does it have? Authentication. Paper. Data log. Let's take a look at the API. So simple thing first, creating a database. For what I'm going to do, it's just going to be a local database. My biggest interests are for fetching data and indexing data. So I'm kind of thinking of how I would do that. So let's take a look at how it's creating an index. Notice that it's using promises here. So db create index, and then it passes a JSON object. The index is just an array of fields in this particular case. And then it has a response. So if you were to create an index on foo-bar-baz, yeah, you can index deep fields, which is kind of nice. I don't think we can really do that on the GWT side. Might be able to with like AutoBeat or something, but here you can name the index. Okay, so let's query an index. So whenever we're doing a find, selector name Mario, fields, ID and name. And sort by name. Query an index. So, I mean, is that, trying to figure out how that works. Do we miss the part where it actually created the index? Yeah, because none of these examples show it. Alright, so when using PouchDB adapter index DB on the index DB adapter, indexes with partial filter selector will fall back. See, I'm also not planning on using the storage mechanisms in the browser because of the fact that we're not storing JSON objects. So from compile to compile, it's not going to be very helpful unless the serialization data is actually stored in the database. In that particular case, it could really wreck things up by changing beans or anything like that. Probably don't want to do that. I don't know. That's something to consider for the future, but especially with being able to do the RPC stuff between worker threads, it might be kind of interesting to try that out. Create index. All right, so I'm still in the create index. In title, partial filter selector. So that's optional. Selector used to filter the set of documents included in the index. So, oh, that's kind of cool. So you can actually do a selector in your index creation. So then the index is only going to be placed on certain objects. That's kind of interesting. So yeah, it does show different examples where you can use callbacks. I think they updated it to use promises. I think that's the one that they prefer rather than the other callbacks. I do too. I think this looks a lot cleaner. We don't see how that works. Fields, sort. Probably should look at the Mango stuff. So Mango queries. Also known as PouchDB Find or Find API, structured query API that allows you to build secondary indexes beyond the built-in all docs and changes index. This API is useful for answering questions like find all documents where the type is user, find all users whose age is greater than 21, find all Pokemon whose name starts with Pika. Alright, so this makes more sense. I think the other document, the API reference, assumed that you were going to read this page before you went back to read the other one. So here we're creating an index on the name field. So then we would be able to do a find using a selector, and because we're only using the name and in our selector, it knows to match up with this particular index. I'm not entirely sure how we're going to do some of this stuff, like all of these EQ, basically all of these different type of operators in the other queries. So I'm trying to think of how that would work with a like a Java object. Most likely you would have to use some sort of bean to be considered as the selector for this. So yeah, create index is the expensive operation because it is looping through all the documents in the database, building a B tree based on the name value. I mean, using worker threads, you might be able to use worker threads to do the work of creating the indexes. I mean, you would have to have the same access to the underlying data store. Might make sense in that particular case to use like index DB or something like that. Building a B tree based on the name value. Once the B tree is built up, though, the find is relatively cheap. Ooh. Yeah, so even the pagination would be nice. Being able to paginate the data. Because if we were thinking in terms of like a Domino UI data table with a live view, we would definitely need to be able to say, here, start at this record and give me 10. Indexing on more than one field. So this one is indexing on name and age. So in the selector, you have to pass it a selector that includes both the name and the age for it to know. So if I were to include something extra in here, like address contains, then that selector wouldn't match this index, and it wouldn't work on that index. Oh, here, this one won't work. Name and age. Oh, this is age. One thing to note is the order of the fields matter when creating your index. For instance, the following would not work. Oh. How the hell would you do that? I mean, you can in a JSON object like this because it does retain that order. That might be complicated. Yeah, I'm not sure what to do with that. That does make a lot of sense though, because you're going to have to first index by name, and then for any duplicates on names, you would then spider off of that for ages in your tree. But then you wouldn't be able to do a selector in the opposite direction where you're checking for age first whenever it indexed first by name. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I don't know how the Java object would look like for that. I mean, we might be able to pass in like method references for the fields. Odd to me that it assumes that the query is an ordered list of properties instead of just the keys to see, do you have this? Good. Do you have this? Well, the order does make sense. Right? Like I said, whenever it's basically because it's creating a B tree, and it's see, I think what if we were to re-implement this, I think the order of the fields in creating the index would make sense. But whenever you're doing a find, I don't know. I mean, would it make sense for us to have an index on the fields name and age, and then another index on age and then name? Probably. Because you might want to do a query based upon ages first. So you might want multiple directions at that same data. But yeah, I think to be easier, we can order it on the index creation. But then whenever you create ambiguous indexes, what if you were to create an index on name and age and another one, age and name? Like, what would you do in that particular case? I mean, both indexes make sense for their own particular use cases. I don't know. I think today I'm just going to focus primarily on just investigation of PouchDB, and by next week I'm going to go ahead and create a dummy project for this, just to play around with, see if I can actually get some data store, and I'm going to focus mainly on indexes. Yeah, I mean, I guess that would be a case where you would want to use a named um, index. Where was that? Because I saw in the create index the ability to name it. Yeah, right here. So if you name an index, you would be able to query giving it the named index. So let's say that you have a age name and name age. You would name them accordingly, and then you would do a find using name age index. You would have to specify which index that you're intending for this to be going against, rather than having the magic. So for any ambiguous indexes, you would probably need to have a name when you created the index. That might make sense. That might be fun to play around with, just to see what kind of trouble we can get into. Design document name, I don't know if I need to worry about that. Only supports JSON, so it's pointless to even specify. Yeah, I think most of this is probably doable. I will have to look at the MapReduce stuff. I am still struggling to really understand how all that works. I did look at Hadoop a long time ago. In that particular case, map and reduce made a lot of sense, but I haven't looked at it in a smaller scale. Compaction. So you can compact the database. Removing unused from old data, non-leaf revisions. Oh yeah, and that's the other thing. I think it it creates an entire history of your objects. Let me see if I can find that. Yeah, so every time you save a document, it retains its history. So then you would be able to look at all of the revisions of that document. I'll have to look at that. I think that might be a CouchDB related thing, but I think they may have implemented in here. Um, so if I did var db equals new ouch db to do's b dot info. I think this works. Yeah, so because of it using an index DB, you can create as many references as you want to it. It's basically acting like a singleton. So just having the same name, it will attach itself to the existing database. So here you can see that I'm able to print out the info. I have two documents, which are those two. So in that particular case, b dot find. No, what is it? So that's using all docs. So what was the query for that? Yeah, it's find. Let me just do all docs. I think it also sends back partial data. Yeah, so here's the partial data that it returns from this database query. So whenever you do a find, it only sends you back the ID and the key and revision value, I guess. So if I wanted to, oops, I need to go back here. Fetch document. I think you have to tell it to include the whole document. So yeah, here's the example response. Include docs. There we are. So if I were to go back over here, and inside of my all docs, in my options, include docs true. Yeah, here's the document. Of course, this one only has 2 data points. It just has a to-do title and a completed Boolean. But by default, it doesn't include the entire document. It just includes the minimal amount of data needed just to have a reference to that object. Then you would need to fetch that individual object. So yeah, here's and attachments if you had any attachments. In this particular case, they had a image ping or JPEG. Well, that's kind of cool. All right. What's my current time? Hello. My screen not moving. I don't see my information in here. I think OBS just logged me out of Twitch. All right. Well, I think what I'm going to do is probably go ahead and call it for today. I would like to explore this a little bit further in the next few weeks. Um, might stream more than once next week. We'll just have to see how things are going. But it might be kind of interesting to have a Java version of something similar to this. It'd be interesting just to see what kind of interfaces and API we could come up with, see if it's even worthwhile doing. But I think that's good. I hope that everybody appreciated and enjoyed the video today, the stream. We'll come back next week and we'll go from there. Thanks a lot.